And I really thought it was important to do this video, even though it's a beta, primarily because I've seen a lot of people struggle with Cold War, especially when making the transition from Modern Warfare. Whether that was your first Call of Duty or it's just been a long time since you played Call of Duty, Modern Warfare intentionally lowered the skill gap to make the game easier for lower skilled players. And that's straight from the developers. That's not something I'm just making up. So with Cold War, it feels a little bit more like a traditional Call of Duty in the sense that there's actually a little bit of a skill gap. Whether you like the graphics or not, that's a whole nother point. But if you actually want to experience where you can actually improve and get better over time, Cold War is definitely going to be the Call of Duty to do that. So obviously the main things you need to be aware of. With this game, it's a little bit different in terms of how the minimap works, which we're going to break all that stuff down. So one of the first things I'd recommend doing is using a rifle or an SMG. I think the burst weapons are great, like the M16 is very good. Does have a solid one burst potential, but it's a little bit higher skill gap because you have to hit that burst. The burst delay got nerfed a little bit, so it's a little bit slower. But something to keep in mind is if you're going to run the rifles, XM4 is a good option. The Krig 6 is a good option. Those are kind of like the main two ones that a lot of people are using. Then we got the SMGs. The Milano did get a nerf, so now it's kind of balanced with the MP5. And I think they're fairly even at this point. I didn't really have any playtime with the AK-74U, and I didn't really see a lot of people running that one yet. But obviously that was what everyone was running in the alpha. So I'd primarily stick to those. If you want to go tactical rifles, M16 is a good option. The Type 63, they kind of nerfed it compared to the alpha, so I don't really think it's all that great unless you're landing headshots, and that's a little bit hard to do. Light machine guns. I've been playing with the Stoner. I like the Stoner a lot. This is a great option. So that's that part of it. When it comes to the overall tactical, I recommend the stim shot because if you get into a gunfight, you can leave that gunfight, stim up, and then get back into the gunfight a little bit faster. Double frag, it's danger close right now. If you want a field mic, you can go that route. I prefer the field mic just because it kind of acts as a little mini UAV. Then I run Ghost, Scavenger, and then Tactical Mast or Flak Jacket, depending on the scenario, right? You can switch it up. Another thing you can run is if you have enough attachments on the weapon because you've leveled it up, I think the good option until they raise the cap to level 40 is to go either with the Lawbreaker or the Gunfighter option, because then you can run an SMG with a rifle or a sniper with a rifle, and then you get that combination. And then Gunfighter, you can actually just kind of mix it up where you have 8 attachments, 1 for each slot. And that's primarily for the rifle, since you're not generally going to put an optic on an SMG. So pretty straightforward, like class setup stuff, right? Now let's go ahead and take a look at the spawn map as well as a little bit of gameplay, give you a better idea on how you need to position yourself within Cold War. So one of the first things we'll take a look at is the overhead view map of Cartel. I used to do this a lot on the channel, but with the lowering of the skill gap, it's kind of ruined some of this. These spawns are more of a traditional spawn system versus in Modern Warfare, they use a squad spawn system. So they'll try and bundle everyone into one location, and it makes it a lot harder to actually push because as soon as you kill someone, there could be 5 people literally spawning on top of them. And that kind of created a lot of issues when it came to competitive Call of Duty. What this yellow lines are is the general spawn. There's kind of what I would call the common spawn, where it's like 90% of the spawns will be there. I haven't really figured out the bailout spawns yet, but there's usually bailout spawns. So for example, if you push too deep on this left side where the yellow is, it'll spawn someone in this little bubble between the yellow and the orange, and it'll give someone an opportunity to spawn out a little bit closer. Depending on the objective game mode, it'll maybe push you out just a little bit closer, and then it'll allow you to get a little bit closer to the middle of the map. They need to expand these a little bit. I think that these should come up all the way to where the edge of B is, and then all the way up towards where this little vehicle is, probably up until there. Not all the way up to C. Obviously, with objective game modes like this, they kind of got to spawn you a little bit further back. But one thing you got to keep in mind is you got to look at where all your teammates are. This is right at the beginning of the map as I'm spawning in. But as you come through, you can kind of push all the way around. And these red areas are the areas that you typically want to control or rotate your power of control. So for example, if you wanted to come over here, then you'd rotate maybe through this side. And this is kind of a limited on rotations on the top side of the map. So typically, I like to stick to this bottom side because it gives you a little bit more freedom on how you're going to move. If you want to come up over here, enemies are in this next red area. What you can do is shoot them out, clear it with the team, push up, get this window, and then you can actually peek this area or this area. If you know the enemies are back here, you can push up, and then if the spawns flip, you rotate back over here, and then you got a good sight line on this rock into the enemy spawn. So it allows you to have a little bit of maneuverability, and you're going to see this live in action when we look at the gameplay. And typically what you want to do is only own about 2/3 of the map, or close to about 70-75% of the map. If your team starts to push beyond that, then it either does one of these random bailout spawns, or it completely flips the spawns. And when you get a spawn flip, sometimes it's not going to be the entire team. It'll be a couple players, and then maybe you get a couple deaths deep in their spawn, and that pushes it back, and then it flips it back. The problem with having the flip-flop spawn is then you make it so that somebody like this can slip through the cracks. And even though if they're wearing ghosts, if they have no one's calling in UAVs, even without all that, you should have a good idea of where players are on the map without all that information. That information definitely does help, but you should have additional information on where people are just based off where your teammates are. That's why it's so important to have a mini map as well as see where your teammates are, even if enemies aren't popping up on the map, just so you have a better idea of where they're going to be coming from, when the spawns flip, and how to recognize that. We're going to go ahead and look at a match now. I joined a little bit of a match in progress, a short TDM match, and then I'll kind of walk you through my thought process as I play the match. So you can see right here, I start the match. The score is 20-18. The score only goes up to 100-100. You can see I go 16-4. Nothing crazy, but it's a late start match where I join in. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Sometimes that's the hard part. Obviously, with it spawning me in that bottom right area of the map, you can see where my teammates are. Teammates are dying, and obviously this guy's popping up over here. I have no clue what's going on in this area. I know if I was on the enemy team, I would be locking down either this doorway or the other, or rotating back and forth, or owning some part of that window across the way as we go through. You'll be able to see that. So I come through, see my teammates are getting engagements. I don't see any lights on there. Peeking really quick. A lot of times people will push through that right side to give a quick peek, and then I push through. It says hostile spy plane, so I have to be careful about my movement. And the reason you got to be careful about your movement is because when there's a hostile spy plane, anytime I slow down too much, my little triangle on the map will start to lighten up. And when it lights up, that means the enemies can see exactly where I am. So we'll go ahead and come through. I don't even know if I had a suppressor on this class. I didn't have a suppressor. So I'm coming back through. You can see based off where my teammates are located, I can expect that the enemies are going to be towards the left of me and in front of me. So I'm peeking. My teammates right there. They still trimmed the bush down a little bit, but they still need a little bit more to do. Now I'm pushing up. I'm trying to get to that red area right here. I stim up. I challenge it, but I'm kind of in a bad spot, so I end up losing the gunfight. Now you can see the spawns flip. And that's probably as a result. That's probably as I was testing. Somebody was saying that the light didn't line up, so I just tested it in a match. But that's probably because they ended up pushing too deep into our spawn, which caused it to flip. So those things you got to be aware of. Where you're spawning at tells you a lot of where people are. So I take that guy out. I stim. I throw a nade just as behind me, and then I try to take a different angle, at least by myself time. End up getting him with the nade. He walked right over it. I put the field mic, and you can see the spawns are looking like they're gonna flip. The spawns are staying exactly the way they were. So the enemies should all be in front of me. I peek it really quick. I come out. I end up getting gunned again. Obviously, I do okay in this match, but this is just a one-off TDM match that I joined late. I take him out. I stim up. Come back out, and this ends up being one of those power position areas that I was kind of talking about. You can lock it down from either way. I'm trying to see that guy, but on the head glitches, literally this is all that shows, and then you end up in a bad spot. So now there's two, so I decide to back up a little bit because they're expecting me to be on the head glitch since I got a couple kills there, and that's all about rotating and positioning yourself. Spawns flipped. So I'm already going ahead and checking that out. And I know spawns flip because even before the UAV was called in, you can see where all my teammates are. There are literally none within the spawn, which is almost a clear 100% indicator that the enemies are on the other side. So instead of just posting up on the tires where I'm going to get likely shot in the back, I rotate around and I get back into the gunfights, or I reposition the line of sight in that red circle where I'm expecting enemies to be. They're almost gonna 100% run through here or where the B flag is normally. I'm trying to get a line of sight. The guy didn't end up pushing out. My teammates crouch walking around the left side. I was expecting some of them to push out of spawn. This guy on the left, my teammate, is ruining the spawn because he ended up pushing too deep, which actually force flipped the spawns, and that's why the enemies are on the other side, because that guy pushed in too deep to the left side. and that ended up being a bad thing in terms of being able to predict where the spawns are. He ended up dying. Teammates are back on this side. So spawns flipped again. I think this map is just a hair too big for the 6v6, and maybe it's too crowded for the 12v12. But you can see kind of how I'm doing it. All the enemies should be coming from this straightforward left area. I'm positioning up, reloading, and then if no one pops up right here, I'll work my way back around. Listening for audio cues. I'm expecting 2 of them, so I'm pre-aiming as I'm expecting at least 1 to walk by. I heard the footsteps, so I turned around, took him out, and you can see I'm kind of just rotating. The goal isn't to push all the way into the spawn, because then I got to run all the way to the other side to flip. Obviously, this is more of a power position. My teammate positioned over here, a little odd, and then peeking to see if anyone's going to come up. This other guy on the right is a little deep into their spawn, so as soon as I kill that guy, the spawn's going to push a little too deep. I back off, give myself a little clearance, because if I push down too quick, I can get killed. A little bit on a 9 streak here. We're doing okay. And then the spawns flip because, like I said, as soon as I kill that guy, they were likely to flip. So I'm running all the way to the other side. And I can do that without really looking at my area, taking all the ambience in, because I already know they completely flipped. So unless someone was just posted up on the side, this is usually a clear path for me to go through. My teammates are over here on the left. The enemy should be funneling through the right side. This guy again is too deep in there, so he's likely going to flip the spawns. That's sometimes where it's frustrating playing with randoms, because they generally do not know how to play and actually control the map. Even though we're winning, that's not the point. It's about controlling the map so that you win at a high rate. So I'm already pre-aiming a little bit, expecting a guy to come out. I take another angle, see if I can get a kill there. That guy used an RPG. There's 2 of them, so I back up to go ahead and try and take a different angle. I have my little field mic there. I peeked the area, took him out. I call him my spy plane and my counter. Spawns looking like they flipped, so I'm going back to the other side. And you can see how quick that stuff happens. Unfortunately, I saw the guy right there. I'm just seeing if he's gonna bait. There's too many people. I'm not gonna be in a bad position. I'm pre-aiming the guy as he walks in. Fairly easy kill. I back up, seeing if anyone's coming in. I throw a nade, cook it. I accidentally, I needed ammo, so I had to pick up that dude's gun. Easy kill there. Most of them are coming from the right side, so I'm gonna put my turret on the left. That just covers my flank, so I'm less likely to get hit from behind on this left side. There's 2 more in the mid. It's kind of hard to see because of the bushes. I'm not a fan of those, so I back up. I'm probably gonna go back into it where my sentry is. Teammate, and I get insta killed. Snipers are broken in this game, by the way.
Stay on mission, DJI. We have
I think I have 1 more death, and that'll be the match. Oh, another one. Where'd he go? I heard somebody. It was my teammate. I think it was a little too loud. So you can see how drastic the shift happens, and there's so much more movement in the game. Obviously, with the extra added health, the TTK is a little bit slower, which is a little bit more advantageous to people that work on their gun skill and then just overall improve as a game, because you're less likely to get insta melted. Like, that guy killed me in a couple bullets there. I killed him 5 times. That was his first kill on me. It just kind of worked out as we took the angle. So I ended up going 16-5. That was late start. 20 kills were already gone, and I still did fairly well. Obviously, I didn't get the most damage. I don't know how I got I think because I went on the longer streak there, I did well. The point of TDM is to win by kills and deaths. And overall, that is why I like Cold War, because it allows you to play smart. I think where typically Modern Warfare is more about just playing campy as much as possible. Lock down a room, set down some claymores, get your kill streaks, die, and then do it again. At least with this one, you can stand a long enough streak. You're going to get your streaks all over again, and that just rewards you getting better at the game, improving on your positioning, having some map awareness. Whereas I think most people just kind of wander around the map and they don't really get much out of the game. So hopefully you guys did enjoy the video, learn something new. If you're brand new, looking to find your way back for more Call of Duty content, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. Appreciate all the support on the channel. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.